The forest was quiet, almost too quiet. The wind whispered through the tall trees, carrying the scent of moss and wet earth. Jonathan moved carefully, his boots crunching softly on the dry leaves. He was not expecting anything unusual, just a simple supply hunt. But the forest, as he had learned, always had its surprises. That's when he saw her. At first, it was only a flash of amber fur between the trees, a movement too quick to follow. Then he realized she had fallen into one of his pit traps. Jonathan froze. His heart beat faster than usual. The trap was shallow enough not to kill, but deep enough to prevent escape. And in it, a Vulpine woman struggled to get free. Her golden eyes were wide with fear, glowing in the dim light under the tree canopy. Ears pinned back, tail stiff, muscles coiled, she was ready to fight or flee. Jonathan could almost feel her thoughts radiating toward him, sharp and clear. This human will hurt me. He will trap me on purpose. I will die here, but Jonathan wasn't cruel. He never set the trap for her. It had been meant for small game. Yet now, as he stood above her, he felt a strange mix of guilt and caution. One wrong move and she could attack him, or worse, panic and injure herself. I didn't mean to, he said softly, his voice calm. He stepped closer, hands open, showing no threat. The Vulpine's eyes narrowed. She hissed, a low, warning sound that vibrated in her chest. Every instinct told her to fight or run, but she hesitated just for a second, watching him. Jonathan took another step, careful to stay outside the trap. I can help you out, he said gently. I didn't set this trap for you. I promise. Her ears twitched and she sniffed the air. Trust was not something her kind gave easily. Humans, she had learned, were dangerous, unpredictable. Some hunted for sport, some for profit, some for cruel pleasure. Her muscles tensed, ready to leap, ready to defend herself. Yet something in his voice, in his careful movements, made her hesitate. Jonathan found a sturdy branch nearby and lowered it into the pit. Grab onto this, he suggested. I can help you climb out. She sniffed the branch, eyes still wary, and then looked at him. There was a silent calculation going on, one that could decide her life. Pride battled fear, instinct battled curiosity. Finally, she put one clawed hand on the branch, then the other, testing its weight. Jonathan kept his gaze steady, giving her space but ready to assist if she slipped. Careful, he said. I'm right here. You won't fall. She didn't answer, but she began to climb, muscles tense, tail flicking nervously. Every movement was precise, controlled, measured. Jonathan stayed low, letting her take the lead. When she finally reached the top, he extended a hand, and she hesitated again before accepting it for a brief moment. Then she landed softly on the ground, crouching, ready to spring. Jonathan stepped back, giving her room. There, he said. You're free. She didn't run. Her golden eyes studied him carefully. Why are you helping me? She demanded, voice sharp, low, suspicious. Because I can, he said honestly. Because no one deserves to be trapped, not like this. Not even you. Her ears twitched, her tail flicked slowly. She had expected cruelty. She had expected anger, chains, pain. Instead, she found calm and patience. For a moment, the forest seemed quieter still, as if holding its breath. Jonathan crouched slightly, keeping his distance. I won't hurt you, he said. I just want to help. Her golden eyes searched his face, trying to read him. And for the first time, the Vulpine woman realized something she had never believed possible. Maybe humans could be different. Maybe some humans could be trusted. And in that silent forest, the first, fragile connection began between a human and a creature who had expected only pain. The forest seemed quieter now, but Jonathan could feel her eyes on him. She did not speak, did not move, only watched. Every flick of her tail, every twitch of her ears told him she was measuring him. He understood. Trust did not come easily to her kind. It never had. I'll give you space, he said softly, stepping back a few paces. You don't have to trust me right away. Her golden eyes narrowed. She sniffed the air, testing for hidden threats, testing him. She had learned to survive on instinct and caution. Every human she had met before had carried danger, sometimes subtle, sometimes cruel. Some had hunted her for sport, others for money, and others just for fun. She had been through enough pain to fill a dozen lifetimes. Yet Jonathan did not reach for weapons, did not try to cage her, did not make a move that could be seen as dominance. He just stood there patient, letting her decide what to do next. Finally she spoke, voice low and cautious. Why are you helping me? Jonathan thought for a moment. It was the kind of question that demanded honesty. Because I can, he said simply. Because you're hurt and it's the right thing to do. Not everyone sees the value in helping someone, but I do. You deserve to be free. She tilted her head, trying to understand him. Most humans she had encountered had reasons, selfish reasons. They never helped without wanting something in return. Her muscles relaxed slightly, though her eyes remained alert. Perhaps this one was different. Perhaps he was. Honest, Jonathan noticed her injuries. Scratches on her arms, bruises along her sides, the weariness in her posture. It was not from his trap, but from her life. Always running, always fighting, always surviving. He crouched down, pulling a small water pouch from his pack. Here, he said, offering it. You must be thirsty. Her snout hovered over the pouch. She sniffed it cautiously, then drank. Slowly, she lowered the pouch. Her eyes studied him, searching for any sign of trickery. None came. For the first time, she felt a strange, unfamiliar thing. Safety. I'm Rin, she said quietly, as if giving her name was a risk. Jonathan, he replied with a small smile. Nice to meet you, Rin. I know trust is hard, but you don't have to stay trapped or afraid while I'm here. She stared at him, ears twitching. Could she believe him? Could she dare to? It was dangerous to hope, dangerous to rely on a human. Yet something about him, the way he treated her, the calm in his movements made her pause. Jonathan looked around the forest. It's not safe to stay here alone, especially at night, he said. There are predators, hunters, and worse. You should come with me, just for a little while. Rin's instincts screamed at her to run, to vanish into the shadows. But she did not. She had expected pain, chains, or worse. Instead, she found calm, patience, and something else. Something she could not name yet, but it made her heart beat slower just a little. Why do you care? She asked, voice low, almost a whisper. Because it's right, he said simply. Because helping someone when they need it doesn't always have a reason. Sometimes it's enough that you can. Her tail flicked slowly. She had learned long ago that trust was dangerous, that hope was a trap. But as she looked into his eyes, she felt something stirring inside her. A tiny spark that told her maybe not all humans were cruel. Maybe this one could be trusted. The forest around them held its quiet watch, the wind rustling through the leaves like a gentle sigh. And in that fragile silence, a connection began. One built not on fear or domination, but on understanding, patience, and the first glimmer of trust. Rin did not speak again that evening. She did not move closer, nor did she flee. She simply stayed, alert but calm, learning that sometimes the unexpected could bring safety instead of pain. And Jonathan quietly felt a small victory, not of capture, but of trust slowly earned in the most dangerous place in the world, the heart of a wary Vulpine woman. The sun was sinking behind the trees, painting the forest in shades of orange and gold. The shadows grew longer, and the cool evening air carried the scent of damp earth and pine. Jonathan moved slowly, aware that Rin followed closely, her golden eyes alert, ears swiveling at every sound. She had not spoken much since he had helped her out of the trap, but he could feel her watching him, judging every step, every breath. Rin's muscles were tense, ready to spring at any moment. She had survived this long by trusting no one, by keeping her instincts sharp. But Jonathan was different. He had not caged her, had not threatened her. Instead, he had offered help and safety, and that alone was confusing her. Jonathan noticed her injuries again, the scratches on her arms, the bruises along her sides, the dirt embedded in her fur. You've been through a lot, he said quietly, not wanting to startle her. I can't imagine everything you've faced, but I want to make sure you're safe now. Her eyes flicked to him, wary but curious. Why do you care? She asked again, a note of skepticism in her voice. Most humans don't care about anyone but themselves. Jonathan shrugged slightly. I care because it's the right thing, because I can, and because no one should have to suffer alone. Her tail flicked nervously. Could she believe him? Could she really trust a human after all she had been through? The doubt tugged at her, but curiosity was stronger this time. Slowly, she began to walk alongside him, keeping a careful distance, still alert for any danger. As night fell, the forest came alive with sounds. Rustling leaves, distant calls of creatures, the snapping of twigs under unseen feet. Suddenly, a pack of wild predators emerged from the shadows. Rin froze, instinct screaming at her to run, to vanish into the night. Her ears flattened, tail stiff, body ready to defend herself. Jonathan didn't hesitate. He stepped between her and the predators, drawing a sturdy branch from the ground. He swung it with precision, striking the creatures just enough to protect them without killing unnecessarily. Rin watched, fascinated and wary, as he moved with strength and intelligence. Humans were dangerous, yes, but perhaps not always in the way she had expected. The predators retreated, wary of Jonathan's surprising skill. Rin's tail flicked, tension easing slightly. She had survived many battles, but she had never seen a human fight like this. Not for domination, not for cruelty, but to protect. When the danger passed, Jonathan handed her some water. "Drink," he said. "You did well just by staying close. We're safer together than apart." Rin sniffed the water cautiously and drank, eyes never leaving his. For the first time, she saw not a captor but a protector. Her suspicion did not vanish entirely, but a seed of trust began to grow, fragile and tentative. She had expected pain, chains, or worse when she first met him. She had prepared for suffering. Instead, she had found patience, care, and protection. Every moment with Jonathan challenged her assumptions about humans. She began to wonder if perhaps not all humans were cruel, if perhaps some could be trusted, if perhaps someone could truly care without expecting anything in return. That night, they made camp in a small clearing. Jonathan built a small fire, careful to keep it controlled, and offered her food. She hesitated, sniffed it, then slowly ate. She stayed close but not too close, still cautious, still wary. Yet the tension in her muscles eased just a little. Jonathan watched her quietly, not pressing, not demanding. "You don't have to trust me fully," he said softly. "Just enough to survive tonight." "That's enough for now." Rin's golden eyes met his. She did not speak, but something unspoken passed between them. A fragile bond born not of chains or fear, but of understanding and choice. She had expected cruelty, but she found something else entirely. A human who fought for her, protected her, and offered safety without conditions. For the first time in a long while, Rin felt a strange, unfamiliar warmth, a hope that perhaps the world could be more than survival and danger. And as the fire flickered between them, shadows dancing on their faces, she allowed herself to feel it, even just a little. The night had settled deep into the forest, and shadows stretched across the ground like dark rivers. Jonathan kept the small fire low, its warm glow illuminating Rin's golden fur and the tension in her body. She sat a short distance away, eyes scanning the darkness, ears twitching at every sound. Trust was still a stranger to her, and yet she had not fled. "Rest if you can," Jonathan said softly. "We will keep moving at first light." Rin's tail twitched, unsure if she should respond. Her mind was always calculating, always preparing for danger. She had survived countless threats in her life by relying only on herself. Humans had always been dangerous, some cruel, some greedy, some unpredictable. But Jonathan, he was different. He had not captured her, had not forced her to obey, and had not threatened her. He had simply helped. The sound of distant howls made her ears flatten instinctively. Predators roamed these woods hunting for anything vulnerable. Her first instinct was to vanish into the shadows, but she did not. Instead, she watched Jonathan, noting the calm in his stance, the confidence in his movements, the readiness in his eyes. He was human, yes, but he was strong and he was careful. And more than that, he fought to protect rather than to dominate. When the first signs of danger appeared, a low rustle near the bushes, Rin's body coiled instinctively, ready to spring. Jonathan's voice broke the silence, calm and steady. "Stay close. We face this together." Her golden eyes widened. Together. She had never fought alongside a human before. Humans were usually the ones who hunted, who attacked, who saw her as prey. Yet here he was, treating her as an equal, guiding her, protecting her. A small pack of forest predators emerged, their eyes gleaming in the firelight. Rin froze, muscles tight, ready to run or strike. Jonathan stepped forward, his branch raised. His movements were precise, careful not to kill unnecessarily, but strong enough to push the attackers back. He fought with skill, his focus entirely on keeping both of them safe. Rin watched, fascinated despite herself. She had expected cruelty, domination, suffering, but instead, she saw patience, protection, and strategy. He wasn't trying to control her. He was fighting for her. Every strike, every careful movement told her that. When the predators retreated into the darkness, Jonathan exhaled softly and lowered his branch. He offered her water again, and this time she drank without hesitation. The tension in her body eased slightly. She had survived many attacks, but she had never felt this before. A human who did not wish her harm but safety. "You could have run," Jonathan said quietly. "But you stayed. That tells me you can trust, even just a little." Rin's ears twitched. Could she trust him? Could she really rely on a human for anything more than danger? Her pride told her no. Her past told her no, but something in his voice, in his calm patience, told her maybe. They made camp for the night. Small fires and simple shelters. Rin kept a careful distance but did not flee. She ate cautiously at first, then more freely. The small warmth of the fire, the quiet strength of Jonathan, the absence of immediate threat. It all made her feel something she had long forgotten. Relief, and perhaps even comfort. Jonathan watched her silently, knowing that forcing trust would break it, but offering patience might build it. "You don't have to follow me," he said. "But if you choose to stay, I promise I'll do everything I can to keep you safe." Rin's golden eyes met his, searching, calculating, uncertain. For the first time, she considered the possibility that not all humans were dangerous. That maybe, just maybe, one human could be different. And maybe she could rely on him. As the fire flickered and the forest settled around them, Rin allowed herself a small sigh. She was still wary, still alert, but a fragile bond had begun to form. She had expected pain, she had expected betrayal, but instead, she found protection, patience, and something she had never thought possible. A human who fought for her, not against her. In the quiet of that night, the first steps of trust had been taken, fragile and unsteady but real, and in the heart of the forest, a Vulpine woman began to wonder if humans could be more than predators. They could be allies. Morning light filtered through the trees, painting the forest in soft gold and green. The air was cool, carrying the scent of dew and pine. Rin moved silently beside Jonathan, her senses alert, but her steps were slower than usual. She had expected fear, distrust, and anger from the human she had met just days ago, yet he had offered none of those things. Only patience, protection, and a strange, quiet kindness that made her question everything she thought she knew about humans. Her golden eyes flicked to him. Jonathan walked confidently, scanning the forest for any danger. He had not forced her to follow him. He had only invited her to stay safe, and for the first time in her life, Rin had chosen to walk beside a human of her own free will. "You're quiet," Jonathan said softly, breaking the silence without turning to look at her. "You don't have to talk if you don't want to." Rin flicked her tail, unsure if she should respond. Humans often pressed for answers, demanded loyalty, or expected obedience. But Jonathan, he did not. He respected her space, her independence, even her wariness. She took a deep breath and finally spoke, voice low. "I don't know why I'm still with you," she admitted. "I should have run long ago. I've survived by trusting no one, and yet, I haven't." Jonathan nodded slowly. "You stayed because you chose to," he said. "And that choice matters more than anything I could say." Her ears twitched and a flicker of something unfamiliar passed over her face. Curiosity. For centuries, her kind had learned to expect cruelty from humans. Pain was predictable, betrayal was expected. But Jonathan had shattered all those expectations. He had not sought to dominate, he had not captured her. He had not even asked for anything in return. He simply helped, and he had done so without hesitation or malice. As they walked, Rin noticed small things about him that she had not expected. The way he moved carefully through the forest. The way he noticed dangers before they appeared. The way he healed wounds with patience rather than rush. Each detail chipped away at her suspicion piece by piece, until she felt a strange warmth inside her chest. "You're different from the others," she said quietly, almost to herself. Jonathan looked at her, a small smile forming on his lips. "I hope so," he said. "I don't want to be like them." Her golden eyes softened, though she would never admit it openly. She had expected cruelty, pain, and deception from a human. She had prepared for the worst. And yet here she was, walking beside one who had become her protector, her ally, perhaps even her friend. The forest grew darker as the day passed, shadows stretching and mingling with the trees. Rin felt a flicker of unease, the instinctual part of her that always expected danger. But she also felt something else, Mistro. And harder to name trust. Not complete trust, not yet, but the beginning of it. Jonathan stopped near a small stream, crouching to take a sip of water. He gestured to her. "Come," he said. "It's safe here." She approached cautiously, sniffing the air, then drank. Her muscles relaxed slightly, though her ears remained alert. "I didn't expect this," she admitted softly. "I thought humans were all the same. I expected pain." Jonathan reached out, but only to adjust a small pack strap, never touching her otherwise. "Sometimes the world surprises us," he said gently. "Sometimes the right choice doesn't need a reason. And sometimes humans can be better than you expect." Rin's tail flicked slowly. She did not answer, but she allowed herself to think it. Perhaps not all humans were cruel. Perhaps one could be trusted. Perhaps one could even care. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows over the forest floor, Rin walked silently beside Jonathan. She was still wary, still cautious, still conflicted, but for the first time in her life she felt a glimmer of something she had never allowed herself to feel: hope. And in that fragile hope, a bond began to grow, one built not on fear or force, but on choice, patience, and a quiet, unspoken understanding. The forest grew darker, shadows stretching like long fingers over the ground. Jonathan and Rin moved cautiously, every step measured, every sound analyzed. The danger that always lingered in these woods was real, and neither of them could afford to let their guard down. Rin stayed close, her golden eyes scanning the surroundings. She had never relied on anyone before. Survival had always been a solitary game, every decision resting solely on her own instincts. But now, with Jonathan beside her, she found herself testing a strange new feeling: trust. She had never known it could feel so fragile, yet strong at the same time. "Stay close," Jonathan whispered, pausing to check a path ahead. "We don't know what's out there." Rin's ears twitched, tail flicking nervously. She wanted to run, to disappear into the forest shadows where no human could reach her, but something in his calm voice, in the steady way he moved, told her she would be safer with him than alone. Suddenly, a rustle of leaves announced new threats. Hunters from a nearby settlement had discovered them. Rin froze, instinct screaming at her to vanish. Jonathan reacted instantly, moving between her and the danger. "This way," he said, motioning toward a narrow path only he seemed to notice. Rin followed, muscles coiled, ready for attack, yet oddly trusting. Jonathan used every trick he knew: branches, rocks, and quick maneuvers to mislead the hunters, leading them away from her and himself. She watched in awe as he anticipated their movements, his mind calculating, precise, and fearless. He was human, yes, but not the kind she had feared. He fought to protect, not to dominate. After a tense chase, they reached a small clearing hidden by thick trees. Jonathan dropped to the ground, breathing hard but smiling faintly. "We're safe. For now," he said. Rin exhaled slowly, tension easing from her muscles. She realized she had followed him without resistance, without fleeing. She had chosen to trust him, even if only for a moment, and the choice had kept her alive. She looked at him, a question in her golden eyes. "Why do you care so much?" she asked softly. "You don't even know me." Jonathan shook his head gently. "Sometimes it doesn't matter if I know you. Doing the right thing, protecting someone, it's enough. And maybe, because I can see that you deserve it." Rin's tail flicked slowly, her mind racing. She had expected pain, torture, or betrayal when she first met him. She had prepared herself for suffering. Instead, she had found patience, courage, and protection. Every action of his challenged her assumptions about humans and about trust itself. "Most humans wouldn't do this," she whispered, almost to herself. "Most would hurt me or sell me or trap me again." Jonathan crouched beside her, keeping his distance. "Not all of us are the same," he said gently. "Some of us can choose to be better. And sometimes, the right choice is standing with someone, not against them." Rin considered this silently. She had always believed humans were dangerous, unpredictable, and selfish. Yet here was one human who had risked himself, guided her through peril, and never demanded anything in return. Slowly, she allowed herself to feel something she had long denied: hope. That night, they camped in the hidden clearing. Rin remained alert, ears twitching at every sound, but the fear that had gripped her since childhood began to loosen. She felt a strange comfort in Jonathan's presence, a fragile sense of safety she had never known. As they sat quietly, the forest humming around them, Rin realized something profound. Trust was not weakness. Trust could be survival. Trust could be strength. And for the first time in her life, she felt that maybe, just maybe, a human could be more than a predator. Maybe he could be an ally, a protector, and something far more rare. A friend. The forest remained dark and full of dangers, but in that small clearing under the quiet night sky, a fragile bond was tested and strengthened. And Rin, the Vulpine woman who had expected pain, found something far more powerful. A reason to believe in hope again. The first light of dawn filtered through the dense forest, painting the world in soft shades of gold and green. Birds chirped tentatively and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves. Jonathan and Rin moved slowly along a narrow path, each alert to danger yet neither in a hurry. The forest had always been dangerous, but now with each other, the fear that had once ruled their lives felt less heavy. Rin's golden eyes scanned the trees, as always, ears twitching at every sound. Yet something inside her had changed. The tension in her muscles had softened. Her movements were less rigid, and for the first time she walked not only to survive, but because she wanted to be near him. Jonathan noticed, smiling faintly. "You're quiet this morning," he said softly, glancing at her. "Everything okay?" Rin hesitated, unsure how to answer. Words were not easy for her when feelings ran deep. I'm still learning," she admitted, voice low. "I never expected to feel this way about a human." Jonathan's smile grew, warm but gentle. "You don't have to understand it all at once. Just knowing it's okay to feel, that's enough." She studied him silently, seeing the honesty in his eyes. He had never lied, never tricked her, never demanded anything she was not willing to give. He had only protected, guided, and shown patience. For a creature who had survived by trusting no one, this was a revelation. "Why didn't you capture me?" she asked finally, curiosity mixed with disbelief. "You could have easily. Everyone else would have." Jonathan shook his head. "Because some things are bigger than fear, bigger than survival or control. You deserved safety, not chains, and I couldn't bring myself to hurt you." Rin's ears twitched and her tail flicked softly. Her heart beat faster than she expected, not from fear, but from something warmer, something unfamiliar. She had expected pain, betrayal, and suffering from humans, but instead she had found patience, kindness, and protection. She had found him. As they walked, a gentle silence settled between them. The dangers of the forest still lurked nearby, but neither of them spoke of fear or threat. The past seemed distant, replaced by a fragile but growing bond. Rin realized she had chosen to trust him, and that choice had not brought pain, only strength. They reached a small clearing where the morning sun broke through the canopy fully, casting light on the dewy grass. Jonathan stopped, crouched slightly, and looked at her. "You don't have to trust me completely yet," he said. "But knowing you chose to stay, that's enough for me." Rin stepped closer, careful but deliberate. She lowered her head slightly, brushing her fur against his arm in a gesture of gratitude. A gesture she had never allowed herself to offer before. I didn't expect this," she whispered. "I expected chains, fear, pain, not this." Jonathan reached out, gently resting a hand on her shoulder, careful not to frighten her. "Sometimes the world surprises us," he said quietly. "Sometimes the right choice is standing together, not against each other. And sometimes trust can grow in the most unexpected places." Rin's golden eyes shimmered with a mixture of emotion, relief, wonder, and the fragile beginnings of hope. She realized that humans could be more than predators. That one human could change everything. That one human could teach her what it meant to believe in someone again. The forest stretched endlessly around them, full of danger and mystery, but Rin no longer felt alone. The pit, the fear, the constant need to survive by herself, it had faded, replaced by something she had never thought possible: safety, trust, and companionship. As the sun rose higher, illuminating the trees and their faces, Rin and Jonathan stood together side by side. She had expected torture, pain, and betrayal, yet she found protection, kindness, and understanding. She had expected the worst, but instead, she found hope, and in that quiet morning, a human and a Vulpine woman, so different, so cautious, so wary, discovered the most powerful truth of all, that even in a world built on fear, trust, and compassion could bloom. that even the smallest choice to care could change lives. Rin leaned slightly closer to him, no longer afraid, no longer tense. She had survived on her own for so long, but now with him, she had found something far greater than survival. She had found a reason to hope, a reason to trust, and a bond that neither chains nor fear could ever break. End.